welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shira.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self.
Hi. So today we want to just kind of roll with it. We do these every once in a while. You know, normally we come through and we pick a very specific topic, and her and I have a discussion, and then we hit record and we go into our topic and our discussion. And then there's days like today where we're like, you know what? We would rather just be very casual and relaxed and chill because that's what we feel like we need right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if we're feeling that way and just picking up on what I feel the collective needs right now, or those of our beautiful audience that's listening to us at this time needs right now, is just kind of a casual conversation. Just two friends in a room, drinks over Bennigan's, and go.
Oh, Bennigan's. Wow. I don't even think that's still a thing.
It's probably not.
I mean, you know, I was sitting here trying to feel into what the message was going to be today. And all I kept getting was that acronym KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, okay, well, first, is that just for us as far as our recording and getting this
Right.
episode out? Is it just us keeping it simple? But I really feel like this is more of like a collective thing, that we need a little reminder to stop overthinking and stop, you know, trying to make things so much more intricate and detailed and overwhelming, you know, in our day-to-day or even in little things or big things, that sometimes the best solution is the simplest solution.
I 100% agree. And so Carrie and I, you know, this is not our normal day that we record. This is normally a meeting day for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so earlier today, I realized that I'm having a rather different Monday than normal. My Mondays are normally very hectic, and a lot is coming in, a lot of response rates and all the fun things. And today has been a bit different. I thought my laptop was broken at one point because I wasn't getting all the messages at the rapid pace that I normally get them, which is definitely unusual. You and I were able to join our course with the Inner Bloom community, and we got to do a little bit of practicing today.
That was fun.
That was fun. We went live. If you're not,
That was unexpected.
we did not know that was going to happen. And you know, and granted, we went live in their community. So shout out to Inner Bloom Podcast. If you're not within their community, you know, check them out, join them. We love them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, I just love them so much. Like there are like, you know, new like friends, not even new, but like, I just enjoy their company so much. And anyway, it was still kind of a surprise to receive that gift and
of going on live.
Which actually brings me into what I was thinking about today. You know, as you were talking about keeping it simple, stupid, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? That KISS method can be applied even to trying to figure out your own abilities and how you work with it.
Oh, that's so true.
When we went to the retreat, and please watch the previous episode where we described the whole situation. But I had an experience in which I opened myself up to the abilities, and in those abilities, I behaved in a certain way where when I was giving the information or channeling basically, or doing the live reading in front of an audience, which was terrifying, I morph into these individuals' behaviors and the way that they move their bodies in some nature, right? Like it's not like a weird morphing of any sort.
Like you don't change your face or anything like that. You just take on the mannerisms.
I take on the mannerisms. Thank you. And I was very curious this whole time if that was a one-time thing. I was like, was that just because I was in such an open environment and I was in such a safe place? And I was very curious if that was it. Like that's the one time that was going to happen. And so for me to start feeling that way and like noticing that that was starting to come on when we were just doing that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is just my thing. And then I thought about how simple it was to feel that way and for that to dawn on me, and how simple it was for me to just open my mouth and say what's going on, what I'm picking up and what I'm receiving. And then just decide at that point in time that don't worry about if it's wrong.
I think, first off, that's one of the beauties of having these communities is having that safe place where it doesn't matter if you're wrong or right. It's just playful practice and learning to develop that confidence and that awareness that we do have this connection and we do all have these extra sensory perceptions. Yeah. And it's just learning to connect with those and deepening those relationships with them, the abilities, because we do that with our other abilities throughout, our lifetime and as a kid growing up. So why not this? And even as a child, like you practice with play.
Yeah.
And that in itself is simple. So why, when we're trying to connect with our abilities that we've been told aren't real?
Yeah.
Why not put that into practice as well? The simplicity of just playing with it and, not caring about whether it's right or wrong.
Right, right.
Not overthinking it.
Not overthinking it. Yes. And there was this, I'm going to say this part because I found this very interesting in this thought process that just popped into my head right now. But we learn as young adults, we learn how to drive a car, right? Some younger than even adulthood. And when you're learning how to drive a car, it is a complex machinery. Mm-hmm. It is a dangerous, complex piece of equipment that you are putting your physical body into, and you're getting behind the wheel, and you have to learn how to pay attention to everything around you and be aware of everything happening around you to keep you and your passenger safe and those others that are around you safe. And then as you become comfortable with it, you have this base element of a natural ability, and it seems so easy and so simple to do it. Mm-hmm. Yet it is actually something that is very complex. And so I kind of relate learning these abilities to learning how to drive a car.
It makes so much sense because you're right. Now driving a car, it feels like second nature.
Exactly.
It's instinctual. It's you learn how to not just be aware, but I don't know. I know you do this too, but you even know before it happens when somebody's going to want to get into your lane.
You calculate the risk. Mm-hmm. You calculate your next move. You're navigating. Think about all the things that you're doing when you're driving a car.
And this is why you don't text and drive.
No, I'm kidding. Please don't do that. But you're calculating all of these things. You are not even aware of how much you're picking up. And it's just like that with your own abilities and with empaths in general. You are not aware of how much you're picking up at all times.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so if we can apply this KISS method to that, mm-hmm. right? Where sure, it's a little difficult when you learn it for the first time, when you become aware of those surroundings, of your own abilities, of whatever, mechanism that you're now working with, right? It's complicated.
It is complicated. I think the most complicated part is getting out of your own head, at least for me. That's been my experience. Our practice today, I really even had to tell myself today, just say the first thing that comes to mind. And it's kind of cool because if you step out of your own way, you will realize how connected you are and how much that self-doubt can inhibit your ability to connect.
Yeah, I agree. So let's think. Well, what are some of the KISS methods that we can apply in using our own abilities?
Well, I think the first one, again, is say the first thing that comes to your mind. Like when you're trying to connect, when you're trying to channel, get with a friend and practice that, whether it's like remote viewing and just being playful with that, or, there's the ESP cards. So there's like an actual deck of cards with different images and colors, and you can play with those with yourself. Even just when you get a phone call or a text, don't look at it right away and just
That's a good one.
feel into like who is messaging me, who is reaching out.
Oh, that's a good one. I was watching, I follow this one vlogger, and I don't do a whole lot of vlogs on YouTube that I follow, but I was following this one vlogger. Her name is XO McKenna, and she does home remodeling and renovations and stuff. And her latest episode, she made this statement about, like, she did the voiceover of her walking around her home and grabbing her tools and all this other stuff. And she said, it's wild to me that just a few years ago, the only tool I owned was a glue gun. Mm-hmm. She's like, and I look around as I was cleaning up my space after working on a room, all the different tools that I have now. And she also talked about how what she was thinking when she wanted to start and how much fear she had around just getting started. And a lot of this fear was stemmed from an unknown place. Mm. And so,
like most of our fears.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remember her saying something to the nature of, I had to keep asking myself, what's the absolute worst thing that could happen? Mm. And if the worst thing actually did happen, do I know how to fix it? Can I fix it? And 99% of the time, yes, you can. So sometimes I have to ask myself when I'm starting to do my self-doubting, and this is my way of keeping it simple, is, Shire, what's the absolute worst thing that can happen? Okay, somebody doesn't align to you, right? You share who you truly are. They're not aligned. And what's the thing that you can do to fix that? I can let that person go and let them find alignment somewhere else that's best for them.
Yeah.
Which in turn is best for me. And so it's like, okay. And so when I put that simple thought process in place, that's when I find this, it's like
relief.
Right. I can breathe again moment, which is so cool. It's so cool.
I love that.
Me too. So thanks, McKenna. We're also in Texas. Come hang out.
I think too, you can also apply this in some of your relationships as well. Yeah. I know for me, I can create a lot of stories. Again, overthinking.
Yeah.
And so keeping it simple and just asking, what did you mean by that?
Yeah. That's a huge one. That's so big. That's so big. I mean, just the simple method of I say this all the time in movies, and it's like, okay, if somebody actually opened their mouth and said the one sentence that would have saved the entire experience from happening, then obviously
there'd be no movie.
There'd be no movie, And I know that. But at the same time, I still find myself frustrated because I'm like, humanity, come on. All you had to do was say 2 sentences and
just communicate.
The whole thing wouldn't have happened. You could have avoided all of this.
Isn't that amazing? Just like we think we communicate so well all the time. And there's so much left unsaid.
It's so fearful.
Mm-hmm. Or we're left filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
Or we think we have to read between lines that don't exist.
Don't exist. We do this all the time. All the time. I'm guilty of it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. We're perfectly human.
Perfectly human. What does that mean? Imperfection at its finest.
Yes.
So what are other things that we can do that help us kind of keep our lives a little bit more simple than where we found it? Or even in the sense of using our own abilities or working through a lack of thought towards your own character?
Well, to your first question, as far as keeping things more simple, my first thought was learning to say no. Stop taking extra things on when you can't.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. See, it took me 40 some years to finally get to a place. Don't wait that long if you're not here yet. To finally get to a place where I'm like, hey, my value, compensation wise, is still worth it, even if I don't overextend. Mm-hmm. I'm still talented in my abilities. I still carry this possession of information and knowledge and a skill set. But I don't need to sacrifice my health and my family and my friendships
To prove it.
to prove it. I got the job because I already did prove it. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Now, as a person who happens to be a boss, I weigh between where do you want to excel when I say stuff like that, right? There's always this thought process somewhere in my mind of like, do you want to increase from here? Do you want to have a different movement? I don't like to call it a forward movement in this particular environment, just because for me, the only thing that's forward is in our human condition is time, right? And so for me, I just want to say that, like, if you were looking to increase your knowledge and your skill set, which is where, when you do that in your place of whatever, honestly, when you do that, then yeah, your value increases. And that's a choice. That's a choice that you.
And let's just
you wanna
clarify
make.
that when we say value, we're talking about in
Monetary.
the working world. Yeah.
Monetary.
Your value is innate from the time you were born.
Yes.
To the time that you past the time that you physically leave this earth. Your value is, there's not a number.
It's not quantitative. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. 100% on that. So I'm 100% talking about monetary and how much you get paid to be at a job and what your like evaluation is at the end of like a year, or, you know, your review process. Right. That's what I mean by that. But other than that, no, I'm talking about like, you still have a choice. Like, you can stay at the status quo, you know, the job still exists. You can stay at the status quo and stay in that moment, or you can choose to increase your knowledge and your skill set and then add to that into your bucket of, I don't know, skill set. I'm like skirting around what I'm trying to say just because I can't say too much.
So let's bring it back to some other ideas.
Yeah.
I keep saying this, don't overthink it, but let me say that in a different way.
Right.
Is listen to your gut, listen to your instincts, listen to your intuition, and stop questioning it.
Yes. It seemingly is hard to do that. But then when you...
It is easy to say, stop questioning it.
Right. It's
easier said than done.
It is easier said than done, but even the done part is seemingly hard until you do it a few times. And then once you do it a few times, just like driving the car, all of a sudden it becomes really simple. And you're like, oh.
And that's why we're encouraging you to play.
Right.
Oh, you can even grab like a die, you know, like a dice. Mm-hmm. Dice is a pair, a die. You can do one or two.
It's like a tie-dye t-shirt.
And you can roll the dice and come up with the number and practice your intuition that way.
Ooh.
A deck of cards. Shuffle them. Have one on top without you looking at it. Feel into it.
Yeah.
And you can write it down or you can say it out loud, whatever. I know that I'm a person that if somebody was around, I'd be like, oh yeah, I thought this. Again, because I don't like being wrong. Because my ego says that if I'm wrong, then I'm not good enough.
Like there's some kind of punishment with being wrong, right? Mm-hmm. I do think that I like the game of something to play with, of doing the asking your friend, like you can do it virtually. 'Cause there's no time space here. So you can do it virtually, and asking a friend to place something in a position of their home or where they live and don't tell you. And then you try to remote view and see not only what the object is, but where it's located. And that way it's helpful. Like if you've been to that friend's house before that you don't know that information.
That would be good for us.
I know.
Because I know where you are in your house 90% of the time.
I have to put you on mute when I go to the room. So like you can't hear this type of echo. It's like you'll know based on the echo.
You can just text me and be like, I placed something somewhere where, tell me what.
Right. So you can't even hear where I'm at. Yeah. That's so funny. I know. Isn't that interesting how you can even, this is another cool thing, is like how you can even pick up or sense where somebody is based on your senses, based on your senses. You know, whether it's sound, like you can kind of tell the echo of a room. And if you've been in that location and you know that location, or say like you talk to that person all the time and they're in that location.
So if it's echoey, it's the bathroom.
I mean, or it could be upstairs where the roof is pitched, but it's probably the bathroom. Let's just be honest. But these are all these like interesting things that we pick up all the time, but it's just second nature to us.
Yeah, and I think what you were getting at was when we're feeling into it, it's not just using like our first sight or second sight. It can also be the tactile feeling as well as an emotional feeling. It can be physical feelings too. Yeah. So maybe you get like a chill and you're like, you're standing under the AC vent.
Right.
Or you must have put it in the freezer.
Yeah. So mind-boggling to me.
It's pretty cool.
It is really cool. It's fun. It's really fun. Play with it.
Empower yourself.
Why not?
Exactly.
What's the worst thing that could happen?
I was literally going to say that.
All right. Well,
keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple. We are going to go ahead and transition over to the collective card reading, y'all. So, funny story about this deck really fast is during that time away and having a reading.
No, I'm not particular. You are.
Just moving the tray. We had talked about at the retreat, if the rain, when we were looking for different activities during the rain, we talked about at the retreat, some of us wanted to go get tattoos. Wild. I know. Wild. And it didn't happen, but I have been wanting one on my right under forearm. And so I drew a sketch in a notebook of what it would look like. And then I actually started seeking a tattoo artist. And I got in touch with one that I really feel aligned to. And so I reached out to her last week and she was like, okay, send me a picture of what you're interested in doing and send me a picture of, you know, your physical location of where you want it and so on and so forth. And of course I took it a step further and like literally removed the backdrop of the sketch and placed it onto my arm like it was a tattoo so she could, you know. Anyway, digressing. So the image on the cards,
on the back of them,
on the back of the cards, happens to be pretty much what I drew.
Very similar.
Right. And I just got this deck yesterday.
You just opened it right before we pressed record.
And I just opened the box right before we pressed record.
And so you just saw it.
Right. I haven't seen all the cards in this deck yet. I've not opened this book yet. Yeah, I just did a connection meditation with it and some charging with my crystal, and we're going to go. Let's just dive in.
So this deck is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck by Kyle Gray, which is another favorite of hers. She didn't even realize that it was by Kyle Gray, which is funny. And so the first card today is the Eagle, and it says, see from a higher perspective.
What?
So this card, it has a tan backdrop, and then in the middle, it's this blue circle that looks kind of like a dream catcher with several little dangly arrows coming down. The middle dangle has like the seeing eye, and then across the dream catcher is this very large eagle. Looks like he's about to pick up some prey.
Well, and this, okay, so again, you guys bear with me. I'm going to read from the book just here and there while we do this, as this is such a new deck for us.
First, I really like
Yeah.
eagle, higher perspective. Like it makes so much sense being like reminding us to zoom out and stop hyper focusing, because we naturally go there. We naturally get stuck on like a pinpoint thing that we're trying to work on, and we're not seeing all the intricate, little roots that are connected to it. And so reminding us to really zoom out and be open to seeing things from a different perspective, shifting that perspective. We've got the Shifting Perspectives playlist on YouTube.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, it's a warrior symbol based on this deck.
One of my favorite books is called The Peaceful Warrior.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm curious about what it says in there, but in our minds, when we think of warrior, we think of somebody that's fighting and violent and, violent. So it's almost like this weird thing to have this oxymoron to say a peaceful warrior. But we are all in our own way fighting by embracing love. And so when we say fight, like, again, we come up with this violent idea, but it's really just standing our ground and emanating that love and practicing that love and teaching others that it's safe to be in that love.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well said, babe.
Thanks, babes.
So the message: look at things from a different angle, fly higher and see new possibilities. How literal. In animal medicine, both Native American and Celtic, the eagle draws his power and strength from the sun. He is a powerful, strong, and courageous guide who is able to see for miles. He approaches all things with intelligence, grace, and poise, and has the capacity to make a plan from a higher space before putting it into action. When the eagle card appears in a reading, it shows that you have a real ability to take things higher and to move beyond the limitations of your ego and your selfish desires.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
That's beautiful. Well done, Kyle. Well done. I knew it.
You picked a good deck. Are you ready for card number 2?
I was going to say I always do.
We're never going to get over that.
Never. That's just too good.
It's too easy.
It's too easy.
All right. So the second card is the Trader. And on the bottom, it says exchange energy to create abundance. On this card, there is a gentleman standing in front of a hanging tapestry, which looks like what's behind your bed in your master bedroom. And it looks like he's trying to sell a pillow or, do a trade. And he's got the robe and the long hair, and his hand is not touching his chest, but it's in that general area.
Yeah. He's handsome.
Kind of gives the Pirates of the Caribbean vibe.
It does. Maybe that's why I think he's handsome. I love it. I love pirates. What's wrong with me? What's interesting to me before I read out of the book? Well, I'm feeling so connected with this deck right now. I love everything about the imagery on these. But when I think of the trader, I think of trading your own position within like a situation, right? Where when you are in a thought process and then you go and you talk to somebody and you kind of trade yourself, it's also known as putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? That's kind of what I'm getting this vibe from. But then when you do put yourself in somebody else's shoes, how you give a bit of grace
and empathy,
right?
Mm-hmm. I also thought about our connection to Mother Earth and how when we have stuck energy or crappy energy or stagnant energy, we can actually take time to connect with Earth and send that energy down to her for her to transmute it for us and exchange.
Trader brings the lesson and energy of exchange. When he appears, he could represent an opportunity to new exchange talents, whatever they may be, in order to expand or be about the exchange of energies that come from the universe or both. For example, if you are a creative person or considered yourself creative, when you share your talents, you are giving them. And when you do so, the universe will give you more in order for you to share more. It's all a beautiful cycle. And
I mean, that just supports practicing play
I love
of our
this.
abilities.
Oh gosh, it's amazing. There's a lot more in these guidebooks. I just don't want to read every single part of the guidebook. Go buy it. It's in our shop. But yeah, it's
Lovealwaysself.com.
right. I'll link it below. So there's a lot more to this because each one of these cards have also an extended message. So beautiful.
Card number 3. Oh, this one is also a warrior card. So literally says warrior.
Can't miss that one.
Be fearless and stand strong. This card, the background is got some green hues to it.
The warrior paint on the face is
I know.
beautiful.
Like there's this mixture of feminine and masculine energy in this card. And the person on here again has a green face paint across the face, and I'm not sure if you noticed this, but it kind of looks like the Tree of Life.
It does look like the Tree of Life.
On the left ear, there's a green earring. I can't tell if that's like a snake or just a blob or a feather.
Not really sure.
I think it's just a blob.
Okay. Holding a spear with some feathers at the base of the spear.
But definitely no fear in this person's face. Very stoic, very just feels still like at peace. Doesn't look angry or anything like that. Just
It still has strength.
standing strong in their knowing.
Yeah. I love this. I didn't see like a dark colored card coming. Like I wasn't expecting it when you flipped it over. So it feels like this individual is kind of standing in a dark room with a lot of smoke, surrounding in the background, but yet has no fear while being in the dark, which is super cool. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see what the book has. Don't back down. Make your opinions heard. Don't settle for second best. A warrior.
Stop second guessing yourself.
Stop second guessing yourself. A warrior is anyone who is ready and willing to know themselves and do what needs to be done in order to get where they want to be. In this deck, the warrior embodies fierce primal love, the warrior within, the energy you can call on to protect yourself, even if you don't think you love yourself. If you are exposed to a situation that could be harmful or dangerous, the steps you take to protect yourself are, in fact, acts of fierce love. Love to yourself.
Wow.
I said that last part, but yes.
So I was thinking about like warriors, like the quintessential warriors, and how when warriors were preparing to go to battle, like they prepared, they practiced, they wanted to make sure that they had a lower chance of dying in battle. So they did all the work. And what that helped them do is have the confidence in their ability to stand and fight. Because if a warrior is in battle and they second guess themselves, they ain't going to be in battle no more.
They're not. They're not. Oh my goodness. Those are beautiful cards.
Can't wait to dive into those more in the future episodes.
I know, right? Mm-hmm. Speaking of future episodes, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to be notified of all future content. And it also lets us know that you're enjoying our content. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. And of course, if you are interested and if you like the decks that we are using today, be sure that you check out our website. We also have social media.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook,
TikTok,
at
Instagram.
Love Always Self.
Yep, that's very true. Website is www.
You did it. I did it. lovealwaysself.com.
So bad. Why do I say that?
Habit.
I know. It's so interesting because I totally grew up in the age of when www.
Well, we
was a
grew
thing.
up before the internet was a thing. Like we were doing AOL.
Oh my God, the dial-up. The dial-up. Oh, so bad. So bad. Anywho.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you. We hope.
What was your AIM username?
I don't even remember. I feel like I've always kept some form of so be shy. So
Mine sounded like a stripper name at like 14. Like Tiger Rose. Rawr.
mine was those Sobe drinks.
Oh, yeah.
I freaking loved Lizard Blizzard.
Interesting. Didn't they
I
have the
know.
little like floaty things in there? Was that them or was that something else?
No, that must have been something else. They always
Orbits.
had. Oh,
That was the drink.
I saw this one was the caps. The caps had a little saying underneath them every time you opened one. It was something new. It was cute.
It was healthy.
So not healthy. So bad for you. Anywho,
Back on track.
I got to where I am for a reason, right? So I'll own that. I'll own that. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really love you and we appreciate you. And don't forget
that we have new episodes every Wednesday and that we love you incredibly and to love first
love last.
and love always.
Oh my gosh. Bye, everybody. I can't with us today.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista,
And I'm Shira.
and until next time, remember to love first
Love last.
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.